some students who are doing fun things. Hey, Jenna, we're glad to have you. It worked out. We didn't have to do like Christmas lights blinking or eyelids. We're going to hear you, and you're going to share about the National Chapter Award Program. Goodness, I hope I'm not using gay language there. I'll try to keep up out. Jenna Genson is awesome. And Jenna Genson is a student, used to be a student of mine at Ohio State. Our relationship and friendship has gone on for probably nearly a decade now. She taught high school agriculture in Ohio and is currently at the National NFFA Center in Indianapolis, Indiana. If we look at her scope of duties, which have changed over time, I know that she rocks out and assists with the Agri-Science Fair, the National Chapter Award Program, and you're helping with proficiencies, and I think I'm missing stuff. At this point, I'm turning it over to her, and she can share and fix whatever I messed up and talk to us about this program. Jenna, it's all you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for working through all those technology problems we had this morning. I hope that you can hear me well, and we'll work through all of this stuff. As Daniel said, my name is Jenna. I did teach high school ag. I got my master's at Virginia Tech and my bachelor's at Ohio State, and I've been at FFA for about 4 years now, which is kind of crazy. I've really enjoyed working for FFA, and similar to an ag teacher, every day is just a little bit different, which is cool, and it keeps me on my toes. I do work with the National Chapter Award Program and the Agri-Science Fair, and I serve on the awards and recognition team. So while I don't have specific responsibilities with SAE grants, American degrees, proficiencies, scholarships, CDEs, and all of those other great things, I can at least direct you to the right person, and sometimes I can answer those questions to you. So without further ado, I'm going to try and share my screen here so that we can get started, because I know that time is precious for y'all and you've got some other things that you need to do today. So hopefully, can you guys see that PowerPoint?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. I'll also post this on the blog, and if I can't figure that out, I'll email it to Dr. Foster so that he can share it out. First of all, happy National Teach Ag Day. And second of all, I hope that you've all seen that cool video with all those country music artists that came out last night. So I had myself a little classic country concert in my car on the way to work today. So quite the start to my morning, which was fun. But today we're going to be talking about creating a system for a program of activities to have success at the local level. We'll identify some potential committee structures, identify ways to implement the National Quality FFA chapter standards. And if you don't know what those are, that's okay. We're going to talk about that and connect all of that to the National Chapter Award Program and look at how you can gain success for the local chapter through that award program.
Now, Jenna, one moment, please. We see the PowerPoint, but we don't see the show. And so I don't know if there was another screen option to share or if you didn't start the show, but what we see is what you would see, like we're seeing all the background stuff. Does that make sense? So hit start show or look at what they're giving you for options to share, and can you share the specific PowerPoint program? Because like we're seeing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the side, and there you go, that kind of stuff.
Can you still see that, or is it in presentation mode?
It is not in presentation mode.
Okay.
I see your mouse going up the presentation mode.
How about now?
No.
Well, that's weird.
When she had it in presentation mode, she had to flip the video to her and back to her screen. That's what we did.
Flip the video to her and then back to her screen.
But she already has it in her presentation.
So you put it in presentation mode.
Yep.
Flip the video back to you.
Like unshare it and then reshare it.
Unshare and reshare it. I'm getting coaching for my students who did this in another class and had the problem. Okay, now reshare. I'm totally blaming National FFA for all of this.
Okay.
Guess what?
Try.
You're so close. Every clap.
Yay!
And we're into objective, and now we're on the slide purpose of POA, and we're learning great things.
Perfect. Okay. So the purpose of a program of activities, I know you heard from Ms. Jolliffe earlier this week. Really a POA is supposed to define those chapter goals and outline the steps to get there. It acts as a written guide for not only you as an advisor, but also for students, administrators, parents, alumni, and any of those other types of folks that need or want to know what the chapter is doing in order to support you and the students. And we ensure that each individual member's needs are met through the activities that are outlined in the program of activities. For me, the most important thing is that it gives ownership for students. When they invest in the planning process, they're more invested in the end product. So giving that ownership over to the students through developing and implementing those activities is really critical. It does provide continuity year to year. We know that sometimes advisors change, or if it's a multi-teacher program, people come on and roll off and students change, but the program of activities really is kind of that steady eddy that gets you through year to year as things change. It is definitely assists in the development of the chapter budget, and so that way you can set appropriate goals for fundraisers in order to support the other activities that cost money. And it provides students experience for how to plan an event and what's successful, and really gets them in tune with those different types of detail that they need to be aware of, and thinking about rain day plans if it's an outside event and those types of things, and serves as a reference point throughout the year. So just like when we set personal goals and we need to do a self-check and check in to make sure that we're on target, this serves as a reference point for the chapter and those chapter goals to make sure that things remain on target throughout the year. In the bottom right-hand portion of your screen, you'll see a little model, and that's been recently developed and released by National FFA in a specific resource that I'll share a little bit more about later. But this is it's a 4-step model on how to develop and implement a successful program of activities. So we plan. So looking at putting students on committees and getting that type of planning done, those committees then develop activities. They then do the activities or implement them. And then on the back end, one of the most important steps is to reflect on how it went and how we can improve for next year, and writing down those suggestions so that when we go back into the planning and developing stage, we continue to grow instead of just repeating the things we've done in the past. So when we work with students to create those POA, that POA at the local level, I think the most important resource to make you aware of is this Program of Activities Resource Guide. I'm going to go ahead and click on that just so you get a look and feel of what that is. Hopefully it will open. This was recently, a lot of this information existed, but it was refreshed, rebranded, and got some fresh examples in there, those types of things. So this is it's a 15-page guide that really walks you through step by step what needs to be happening. So there's that planning model. It talks about the divisions and areas in which you can create committees. How do we plan? What types of committees? How big should committees be? How do we assign students, and all of that other great kind of stuff. A timeline in which we develop and implement, a couple of different examples to do that, and different forms that we can give to students to use during this process of plan, develop, do, and reflect. So lots of great stuff here. I would really encourage you to take a look at this as you work through any projects that Dr. Foster might have you doing on Program of Activities, but also as you think about how you're going to implement this when you're in the classroom. So it's a great resource. I would really encourage you to check it out. So as we stated before, that the POA is really serving as a roadmap for the year. So the who, what, where, when, how much, all of those different questions that a parent, a student, an administrator, a stakeholder would want to know. We build this program of activities around committees, and those committees will depend on the size of your chapter, how involved students are, what kind of support your chapter has, and how many advisors, if you're in a single teacher, a multi-teacher program. But typically we encourage chapters to develop these program of activities around 3 divisions, which in 17 and moving forward will be growing leaders, building communities, and strengthening agriculture. Within these divisions are different committees, and typically, in order to make that transition easy into that award program, we encourage folks to use the quality standards as potential committees so that that information easily flows back and forth between those 2 things. So working smarter, not harder. The other thing that I would encourage is to make sure that every student is serving on at least 1 committee and giving them that ownership to get them invested, involved, and excited.
Now, Jenna, I want to make sure I understand. What you just taught me is that no longer should I use the languaging of growing, of student development, chapter development, community development, that these are the new languaging to use.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit about the revision process in a little bit, but in 2016, if you have the chance to go to National FFA Convention, where we recognize those chapters during session 2 on Thursday afternoon, you'll still see the student, chapter, and community, and that's because that application is, this 2016 is the last year we're using that structure, and in 17, because of the revision, that's one of the major key changes that we've made. And you know this, Dr. Foster, if you've been plugged in, engaged, or even around National FFA in the last, I would say, 2.5 years, you've seen the organization really elevate the vision of what we do, and that's where those 3 terms come from, is the vision of FFA. You'll notice, though, and I can send some other resources if you're familiar with the quality standards that exist today under student chapter community, a lot of those are transitioning into the new structure. So what those activities look like is going to be fairly similar, but those division names have changed. So
For the quality standards team, if you look at that handout that I provide you with the rubric on the assignment, I believe, that's it's on the back side of it. So just so you know, Jenna, as they're going through, I gave them the 4 traditional POA forms from National FFA. They have a hard copy in front of them. And then I also gave them the rubric for assignment 3. It's on white. And, oh, that was supposed to be front and back. It's not. But
do the forms that you gave them, Dr. Foster, I'm actually going to pull this back up.
I bet you I'm old. And so you'll see the National FA Program Quality Standards, and there's 5 different elements listed under each division. And this is what she just told me and taught me, and that I need to update my stuff for 2017. I mean, right now in this class for 2016, this is technically correct. But as y'all go forward, and this is the new divisions. And what I was asking is, those are not the forms I gave them, because those look pretty and cool.
The forms that you have, though, in front of you, it's actually really good that you're looking at the old stuff, because it is pretty similar. Like the only major change that we made, other than rebranding it, refreshing it, and putting that little diagram so the students know what step they're in of those 4 here, and it's going to be kind of hard to see. I think it'll be, it's not too blurry. Here you can see we broke down that we call it estimated financial impact. So is it bringing in money or is it spending money? So getting the kids to think that way, and just drilling down one level deeper than what they're currently looking at the old form when we're thinking about budget development, trying to help that process along a little bit. But what you're looking at is very similar to what we've refreshed it to. So you're in good shape. Okay, any questions about any of that information that I've shared? Okay, I'll keep going. We just talked about these 4 forms, and those are available on FFA.org in a variety of places. But the screenshot that you see on the right-hand side of this PowerPoint slide, that's off of the National Chapter page. It's also, there is a program of activities page. It's also on the revision page until we get all the content flipped over. But the management of this POA is a little tricky right now because right now those forms are only available in Word and PDF. We don't currently offer an online system to gather that information. I will share with you that there are providers that do have other ways to gather this information, but right now it is a little clunky, but we're working on different ways to refresh and get that to a point where technology is our friend, and let's encourage folks to use it that way. We've got some plans in the works, but it's going to be a few months before that rolls out. But if you connect with anyone at AET, they have a pretty cool management system there too that does essentially the same thing. It's just in an online format. Managing those committees is going to be really important, and this is reviewed in that resource guide that we talked about a little bit earlier. Having a student chair so that you have one point person to contact when you have a question, when they're in the final stages of planning and those types of things, instead of trying to hunt down 6 or 7 kids to figure out what's going on, you have one go-to person and they have one go-to person. So that management style really helps. Regular meetings and having them report out is going to be really critical. And you'll see a variety of ways that folks do this. Sometimes schools have meeting planning periods, where clubs have 20 minutes and you can hold a meeting during the school day. Some chapters do meetings before school, after school. Sometimes there's an FFA Friday if the meetings can coincide with class periods. So if your entire career success committee is in one class, they can meet during class time and you can give them that time to do that. So just something to think about when you're considering how you're going to manage this. I think probably the most effective, if your school district will support you in it, is to try and put some of those key committees, putting them in the same class so that you can take one day a month and give them that time to meet and report out and keep that process flowing throughout the year. So the National Quality FFA Chapter standards have been developed through this last revision, and so they're going to be implemented in 2017. But it's much larger than just National Chapter, which is why I share it in the light of Program of Activities. It's a set of 13 standards that were designed to be used by stakeholders to conduct an evaluation of a local chapter, and it really serves as a consistent delivery for chapters across the nation. So it's minimum thresholds that we're expecting chapters to perform. It really focuses on the operations of the chapter at the local level, talking about sound budgets and those types of things. And the cool thing, again, working smarter, not harder, if you haven't learned about the National Quality Program standards that are issued by the Council for Agricultural Education, that's something I would encourage you to take a look at, and that's looking at program functionality as a whole, FFA, SAE, and classroom. The National Quality FFA Chapter standards are really just cherry picking that FFA portion out and taking a look at that local chapter. On the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see out of the 13 indicators, I think it's 9 or 10 of them are directly aligned with the program standards. So 2 birds, 1 stone, and it helps with that conversation with maybe an administrator who doesn't understand what an FFA chapter should look like and those types of things. Same thing with the program standards. It helps administrators who might be starting a program, or you're trying to refresh a program and bring it up to where it needs to be. And this is a really good document and tool that you can leverage in your favor to help you do that. So I've given you program of activities, National Quality Chapter, all this stuff is kind of probably swirling around and we've been pushing through it pretty quickly. So how does it all fit? National Chapter Award Program really brings it all together by recognizing chapters that are implementing the mission and the strategies of the organization. They're improving operations using the National Quality Chapter standards, and they're implementing a quality program of activities. So National Chapter brings all of those, ties all of that together into one place. So the process for that award program, we develop and maintain those quality standards. We develop and implement a program of activity. will fill out the National Chapter Award application, and that's evaluated at the state level in the springtime, and those state level awards are typically handed out at state convention. And then 10% of the total number of chapters at the state can then move on to the national competition. So in 2014-15 school year, Pennsylvania had 146 chapters, so they could submit 15 applications. That national evaluation happens in the summer, and then the recognition is then delivered at national convention. That application is housed in NFFA.org in the application manager. Several students can be assigned to that to be able to edit it. New in the 17 application, everything that's scored has its own box. If you're familiar with the old form, that's a definite improvement. But the one thing I'll share is that just because the application is online, unfortunately, that doesn't mean online submission yet. We hope to get there in the near future with all of our award applications, but at this time, the only thing that's actually online submission is really that scholarship form and the SAE grant application. So it exports into a PDF, you'll print it off, get the appropriate signatures, and stick that thing in the mail. And for state awards, that's really controlled at the state level, so you'll want to talk to your state staff to be able to figure out what those deadlines look like in submission process and all that good stuff. But the rubric and the scorecards are all in the handbook, and that's the one-stop shop for the program, is really take a look at that handbook. And we mentioned this revision, so new application, new handbook, new standards, everything is fresh in 2017, so make sure you check out that new material on FFA.org. The application is broken into two areas. Form 1 is a 2 to 3 sentence summary of one activity in each area, each quality standard. So there's 5 quality standards in each of those 3 divisions, so a total of 15 activity summaries. And then a chapter self-assessment based on that national quality FFA chapter standard set. Now that's, you have to earn a minimum score, and you see that, and that's really because we want to know that you're that you're operating in an appropriate manner, and that you're hitting those, that you have a sound chapter and it's functioning and operating appropriately before we hear about all these great things that you're doing. So that's really why that has been inserted in there. And then Form 2, you'll take 3 activities in each division and really tell us everything. The goals, how was it implemented, what kind of impact did it make, share a photo, and those types of things. All that info is located in the application section if you want to know more about it in that handbook. So there's several different recognition opportunities. Those first 2 are really at the state level, and the last 4 are at the national level. So pending that application and how it scores, you can gain a lot of really great recognition for your students and for your chapter and local school district through the program. Just some quick application tips. Make sure that you take time to read and review the instructions. You might smile to yourself when you hear that. We tell our students that all the time. And so I'm telling ag teachers, please make sure you read the directions. It really helps you and it helps me.
Jenna, we lost you.
Oh, can you hear me?
Oh, Jenna, we lost audio.
Jenna, come back.
Can you hear me?
Oh, we see movement. We see video. We just lost audio. It's going so well.
No mo audio.
Does she not hear us? Because she's still going through.
Oh, no!
Jenna, click something if you could hear us.
Hey, James, good try.
She clicked
Technology is
something.
a wonderful thing. When it works.
Wait, I think she's trying.
Oh, she's in the other space.
Upside down.
Upside down, that's right. Hey, we lost you. You're doing so well. All right, Jenna. Can you hear us? If you could hear us, shrink your PowerPoint. Minimize. Thanks. Oh, Oh, yay, she chatted us. She can hear us. I'm telling you, it's the upside down. We're figuring out how to communicate. Flash the Christmas lights. Ta-da. All right. Jenna, you shared some wonderful information. I really do want them to interact with you, but we may be finally overcome by our technological challenges. I have no idea why all of a sudden, after you're working well, the audio would disappear, but the audio obviously worked with you. Remember, we blame National FFA. Here's what I want you to know, because she can text us and your words are popping up. So this is what I want you to know. Jenna is a great resource. Okay? So when I wrap up class after today, I'll make sure that her Twitter and her email are included in that, and I want you to send questions directly to her. Here's what's more important. Not more important, just equally important. Jenna understands and gets the idea that the reason we do things is to help people grow, including our teacher candidates and our students. So she has been a wonderful ally to connect to meaningful opportunities at National FFA for our teacher candidates. For example, Evelyn will be judging proficiency awards or assisting with that process on Thursday of National FFA Convention Week, and it's because Jenna provided that opportunity. And so if you are curious, everyone just go see what it's like. And remember, guys, I know it's tough, but if you came to me today and say, I didn't apply to go to student organizations, I know the apps were due September the 17th, I've had a change of heart, can I really go? I'm going to try to figure out a way to get you there. And we can try to figure out a way to engage you this year from October the 19th to the 20-something, 1st, 2nd, in Indianapolis, Indiana. But if not, maybe next year. Because she wants not only you to succeed as a teacher, but because you succeed as a teacher, your students succeed in your future communities or programs. All right, Jenna, is there anything I said that you want to correct? Nope, she said sorry, she'll share, we'll connect. Happy National Teach Ag Day. If you want to meet her, she will be in the Agri-Science Fair area at convention. She's awesome. Jenna, we appreciate your time, and I do have one request, and you can respond to my questions via text right now. So the first one, we ran into this with some other resources. FFA.org as a website now requires all users to create a username and log on. Yay, it's free. I do recommend you all create one. However, when individuals create one, they have to affiliate as students or community members. They don't get to identify as a teacher unless they're assigned to a chapter. Can a student search FFA.org and find all the resources that you indicated for POA in this chapter award program? So that's a yes or no question, since you don't have to type a bunch. Wonderful. The next question I'll have is that when you send me the PowerPoint, if you would be so kind to send me the PDFs that you think are most relevant, I'm going to dump them into our Google Drive to make that just a little bit more accessible for some of our students as we go forward. And so thank you for your time. We're going to move on to other instructional tasks. And hey, you enjoy your National Teach Ag Day too.
Thank you. Thank you.